We have a rule in Sandler that your value as a salesperson is determined more by the information that you gather rather than the information that you give. So here's the problem. We're naturally wired to give information and to talk rather than to uncover it. So, in fact, studies show that most salespeople spend at least 80% of the time talking. So, this makes like real authentic discovery really challenging. So, my question to you, sales managers, is how do you make sure your team is getting the information needed to properly qualify or disqualify an opportunity? So, while you may have a list of questions that they should be asking, but how do you know they're asking them at the right time and in the right way? So, how are you able to help them replicate their successes as well as learn from their losses? So, the most effective way is through a consistent post call and debriefing process. So, what debriefing isn't is how'd your meeting go? That is just a check the box surface level question that elicits a surface level answer like, I'm good, it was great, it was fine, right? It's similar to asking the question, how are you today, right? That elicits a very surface level response like, oh, I'm fine, right? Surface question, surface answer. So to properly debrief, we need to ask, really deeper questions to dig below the surface um, so that we can elicit a deeper, really more reflective answer. So we also need to let our reps know, hey, what questions are we going to be asking at the end? And then that ensures the likelihood or increases the likelihood that they're actually going to ask those questions. So let me give you an example. I have a client that I'm working with, and they have two reps who were not meeting quota in the first quarter. So we implemented a pre-call, just a pre-call planning process, as well as a post-call debriefing process. And while the sales manager wasn't able to debrief each and every one, what we did is have the reps fill out a debriefing questionnaire after their call and submit it. So after 60 days, what we found was both of the reps were exceeding their goals by 30% after 2 months. It's crazy. Look, you know what? If you do the behaviors, the results will follow. Um, so this is just as true in our personal lives. So I'll give you a personal example. Both of my kids play soccer, and what we do after each game is we do a very simple debriefing process. I ask them three questions, right? What went well? What would you go back and do differently? And what are you going to work on this week in order to improve for your next game? So initially, they didn't love answering these questions, and it was a bit hostile. And initially, really, these conversations resulted in some fights. But over time, we said, look, we're not here to coach you. We just want you to reflect on your game. That's the reason we're asking these questions. And so over time, it's been a really simple and wonderful process. So they answer those three questions, and then they implement what they committed to work on in practice. And then we see it come out in the game. So since then, their game has taken off. And really, it's just because they're reflecting and coming to those conclusions on their own. Look, I know it sounds simple, but it is not easy, right? But growth only happens on the other side of our comfort zones.